Hospitals. For most of us, they are beacons of healing, monuments of science where hope is born and life is preserved. We picture gleaming white corridors, the reassuring hum of fluorescent lights, and the rhythmic, steady beeping of monitors that track the fragile cadence of our existence. But what if those same sterile hallways conceal something else? What if, between the moments of recovery and relief, there exist stories of a different kind? Tales not of life, but of what lingers after it. Welcome to the world where the line between medicine and mystery becomes hauntingly thin. It is a strange paradox that these buildings, dedicated to logic and order, are so often considered among the most haunted places on Earth. But when you truly think about it, the logic becomes clear. These structures are vessels of immense emotional energy. Within their walls, the entire spectrum of human experience is compressed. The elation of birth, the agony of loss, the terror of the unknown, and the quiet desperation of final moments. This sheer intensity, saturating the very plaster and steel, creates an environment that some believe is uniquely receptive to the supernatural. Consider the infamous Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Louisville, Kentucky. Erected in the early 20th century to combat the tuberculosis epidemic, it became a place of last resort, and for thousands, a final resting place. Today, Waverly Hills is a pilgrimage site for paranormal investigators and thrill seekers, a place where the past refuses to stay buried. They report sightings of shadowy figures drifting through empty rooms, the sound of disembodied whispers in the dead of night, and sudden, inexplicable drops in temperature that chill the soul. The notorious body chute, a dark enclosed tunnel once used to discreetly transport the deceased away from the eyes of the living, is a focal point of this activity, infamous for its oppressive cold spots and unsettling echoing noises. This isn't just history. The unsettling reality continues in functioning hospitals across the nation. Imagine being a nurse on the night shift, making your rounds at 2 a.m. The silence of the ward is deep, almost profound. You turn a corner and see a patient in a standard-issue hospital gown wandering the hall with a look of confusion. A common enough sight, except when you check your records, you discover that the patient in that room passed away hours earlier. Staff at New York's Roosevelt Hospital have shared just such encounters, describing the apparition of a woman who appears lost, only to vanish into thin air without a trace. Others speak of elevators that travel between floors on their own, empty wheelchairs that roll silently down hallways as if pushed by an unseen hand, or the distinct, lingering scent of perfume in rooms where no visitors have been for days. These are not merely urban legends whispered among exhausted staff. Many hospitals harbor long-standing traditions of ghost stories passed down from one generation of medical professionals to the next. They become part of the building's identity, a whispered warning that you are never truly alone. The reasons for these phenomena are debated endlessly. Paranormal researchers point to the concentration of profound emotional energy, the fear, the pain, the hope, and the grief. They theorize that this energy can leave an indelible psychic imprint on a location. Others suggest that the sheer number of deaths occurring in a single place might trap spirits, leaving them unable or perhaps unwilling to move on. Whatever the cause, these chilling tales serve as a stark reminder that even in places devoted to preserving life, the shadow of what comes after can linger, just beyond the reach of our senses. But the fear hospitals inspire isn't always supernatural. Let's peel back the layers of why these environments, even at their most normal, can feel less like places of healing and more like the anatomy of a nightmare. It begins with the sensory experience. Hospitals are intentionally designed to be sterile, efficient, and impersonal. The walls are painted in muted, institutional colors that offer no comfort. The floors, polished to a clinical shine, reflect the harsh, bluish glare of fluorescent lights that never seem to turn off. And beneath it all, there is a constant, low-level hum. The beeping of machines, the crackle of an intercom, the distant, echoing footsteps in a long, featureless corridor. For many, this atmosphere feels profoundly alien, a stark and intimidating contrast to the familiar comfort of home. Then there is the psychological component. The moment you pass through those automatic sliding doors, you are forced to relinquish control. A plastic bracelet is snapped onto your wrist, you are assigned a numbered room, and your life is suddenly dictated by schedules not your own. You are surrounded by strangers in scrubs who communicate in a cryptic medical jargon that feels like a foreign language. This abrupt loss of autonomy, this surrender of self to a system you don't understand, can trigger a deep and primal anxiety. And of course, there is the fear of the unknown. Medical procedures and equipment carry an intimidating mystique of their own. Consider the MRI machine, a massive, whirring tube that swallows you whole, its rhythmic clanging and banging an industrial heartbeat that echoes your own rising panic. Or the simple sight of surgical tools laid out on a sterile tray, gleaming under the operating lights. For many, these are not symbols of healing, but of pain, invasion, and potential harm. Hospitals are where we are forced to confront our own fragility, our own mortality. The machines that monitor our heartbeats and our breathing are a constant, beeping reminder that life is a delicate state, one that can fluctuate and fail at any moment. This relentless surveillance can feel less like care and more like a countdown. All of these elements, the sterile environment, the loss of control, the fear of the unknown, and the constant reminders of our own mortality, combine to create a perfect storm of dread. It's an atmosphere where the unfamiliar, the uncontrollable, and the emotionally charged collide, turning a place of care into a profoundly unsettling experience for so many who enter. These deep-seated fears are precisely what make hospital horror stories so potent. They tap into a universal vulnerability, a shared anxiety that is instantly recognizable. Think of the titles that could emerge from such a place, titles designed to stop you in your tracks and compel you to know more. Imagine a story called Trapped in the ICU, the true American hospital nightmare they tried to hide. The very words evoke a terrifying sense of claustrophobia and helplessness. Trapped suggests there is no escape. True nightmare signals a real, harrowing account, not a work of fiction. But the final phrase, they tried to hide, adds a sinister layer of conspiracy, suggesting a cover-up, a dark secret that the institution itself wants to keep buried. Or consider a title built on the promise of irrefutable proof. Doctors fled the room, real CCTV footage from America's haunted hospital. The opening statement is shocking. It subverts our every expectation of medical professionals, who are supposed to be pillars of calm and control. The idea of them fleeing in terror raises immediate, urgent questions. The phrase real CCTV footage taps into our fascination with found footage horror, promising a raw, unfiltered glimpse into the terror. It combines the supernatural with the tangible, creating a blend of curiosity and fear that is nearly impossible to resist. Some stories are most powerful when they remain unsolved. A title like The Patient Who Screamed at Midnight, Unsolved Hospital Horror in the USA, plays on the classic horror motif of a singular, chilling event that echoes through time. The specificity of screamed at midnight creates a vivid, instantly memorable scene in the listener's mind. And the word unsolved is a powerful hook. It invites the audience to speculate, to theorize, to become part of the investigation. It suggests a mystery so profound that it has defied all explanation, leaving a permanent question mark hanging in the air. And then there are the stories that come not from the patients, but from the staff who walk these halls every night. Imagine this title, Morgue Door Slammed Shut, the terrifying shift no American nurse will forget. It focuses on a single, visceral, and haunting event. The morgue is already a place charged with dread, and the violent, inexplicable action of a door slamming shut transforms it from a place of quiet solemnity into one of active menace. By framing it as a shift no nurse will forget, it personalizes the terror, making it a relatable human experience of enduring a night of pure, unadulterated fear. To truly understand the power of these tales, let's dim the lights and step inside the echoing halls of a single institution, Mercy Ridge Hospital, a place known for its excellent care and for one of the strangest unsolved mysteries in modern medical history. Our story begins on a cold November night in the year 2012. At precisely 11:37 p.m., a patient named Samuel Greer was admitted to room 412 following a minor car accident. Mr. Greer, a 54-year-old accountant from a neighboring town, was conscious, coherent, and complaining only of a mild pain in his left shoulder. Standard observations were conducted, his vital signs were stable, and he was settled in for a night of observation. Nothing seemed remotely out of the ordinary. But what transpired over the next 12 hours would trigger a frantic internal investigation, baffle local law enforcement, and give birth to a mystery that the staff at Mercy Ridge still whisper about in hushed tones. At 6:13 a.m., during the morning shift change, Nurse Elena Vasquez pushed open the door to room 412. The first thing she noticed was the quiet. The bed was neatly made, the sheets crisp and undisturbed. The medical monitors were untouched, their screens displaying a flat, idle line. Every one of Mr. Greer's personal belongings, his wallet, his keys, his reading glasses, was sitting exactly where he had left them on the bedside table. But Samuel Greer himself was simply gone. There was no sign of a struggle, no medical equipment had been disconnected or disturbed, and most perplexing of all, there was absolutely no record of him leaving. The security camera positioned in the hallway, a silent, unblinking eye, showed no one entering or exiting the room all night, save for the scheduled check-ins by hospital staff. The hospital immediately declared a code yellow for a missing patient. Security teams fanned out across the grounds, and local police were called in. The search was exhaustive and methodical. They checked maintenance shafts, every stairwell, the hospital's sprawling roof, and the labyrinthine basement. Not a single trace of Samuel Greer was found. His clothes, wallet, and cell phone remained untouched in his room. Forensics found no fingerprints other than his and those of the staff. Hospital logs and security footage confirmed that no one matching his description had passed through any of the main doors or emergency exits. Investigators dug deep into Mr. Greer's background, searching for any possible explanation. He was a man with no known enemies, no significant debt, and a stable family life. His wife was as shocked and bewildered as the hospital staff. She told police he had texted her a reassuring message just before midnight, saying he was fine and that he would be home in time for breakfast. That text message was traced back to his phone, the same phone that was still sitting, silent and cold, on the bedside table in his empty room. In the weeks that followed, as the official investigation stalled, rumors began to circulate through the hospital. Was it a bizarre case of mistaken identity? A meticulously planned escape that defied all logic? Some of the older staff members began to whisper about the hospital's own century-old history, its own catalog of unexplained occurrences. A handful of nurses on the night shift reported hearing faint, disembodied footsteps and seeing fleeting shadows in the corridors around the time he disappeared. But their accounts were too vague, too unsubstantiated to be considered evidence. To this day, the case of the vanishing patient of Mercy Ridge Hospital remains completely unsolved. It is a chilling reminder that not all mysteries have answers, even within a building filled with science and reason. The empty bed in room 412 stands as a silent testament to what some still call the hospital's greatest and most terrifying enigma. Now, before you turn off the lights and convince yourself that the shadow in the corner of your room is just a pile of laundry, we want to pull you deeper into this darkness with us. This channel thrives on stories like these, real, raw, and deeply unsettling. But the most powerful hospital nightmares are not always the ones we find in dusty archives or hear whispered among night shift nurses. They come from you. If you have ever experienced or even heard of a hospital horror story that made your heart pound or your skin crawl, we want to hear it. Perhaps you spent a night in an eerily silent ward, only to hear distinct footsteps echoing down the empty hallway. Or maybe you've worked in a hospital and witnessed something you still cannot explain. Lights flickering on and off in an abandoned wing, mysterious codes being called for rooms that no longer exist, or a patient who insisted they were visited by a loved one who had passed away years ago. We want every chilling detail. Did you find yourself questioning your own sanity? Did other staff members confirm what you saw? Or did everyone pretend that nothing had happened? The more detail you can provide, the better. We are looking for the stories that keep you up at night. To submit your hospital nightmare, you can leave your story in the comments below or email us at the address provided in the description. If you wish to remain anonymous, simply let us know. Your identity will be protected. And do not worry about your writing ability. What matters is the authenticity of your experience, the genuine fear in your account. We may feature your story in a future episode, giving you the chance to become a part of our growing community of dread seekers. And before you go, if you haven't already, please subscribe. Each week we deliver new tales of real-life terror, medical mysteries, and unsolved hospital hauntings directly to your feed. If you are already a subscriber, we thank you for joining us on our midnight rounds. To ensure you never miss an episode, click the notification bell. And if you know someone who appreciates a good scare, or perhaps someone who could use a stark reminder that hospitals are not always just about healing, share this video with them. You never know whose story we might uncover next. We also encourage you to join the conversation in the comments. Have you worked a night shift and encountered something you still can't explain? Did a loved one ever recount an inexplicable experience during a hospital stay? Perhaps you've always been curious about the legends surrounding your own hometown's medical center. Share your thoughts, your fears, and your questions. The more we engage, the more haunting stories we can unearth together. So, subscribe, share, and most importantly, submit your hospital nightmares. Because in the world of midnight medicine, the scariest stories are always the true ones. We're waiting to hear what keeps you awake at night.